one of you that have taken time out to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Hansib Publications and its founder, Arif Ali. I'm Rod Westmaas, and along with my wife, Juanita Cox, we run Guyana Speaks. It's an initiative that we started in 2017, aimed at bringing together our vibrant Guyanese diaspora. With an array of presenters and addressing our audiences either in person or virtually, we've touched many with topics that focus on Guyana and the accomplishments of Guyanese. In the words of one of our most fervent supporters, Joyce Trotman, she says, "Y'all take me home every month." And with that, today's event has now come together as it is today with a collaboration with Ansel Wong, Juliet Alexander, and Mia Morris. Be aware that this event will be recorded throughout, so ensure that you all remain on mute unless we ask you to unmute yourself, so as not to disturb our presenters. Personal tributes to Arif can be left in the chat box, which is at the bottom of your screen, and they will be saved and passed on to him. Finally, as an anniversary special, Hansib Publications are offering a book discount of 25%, and you can find the book simply by looking at their website. They have a very extensive website, and then you can email them at cash@hansibpublications.com with the reference discount 25 HAN 50, and plus give the name of the book required. So with that, you can pay either via email or even call the number that is on the website. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the floor over to the co-host, well, one of the two co-hosts, Juliet Alexander, and then Juanita and Juliet will continue throughout. So thank you very much for participating, and Juliet.
Hello, can you hear me loud and clear? Can you hear me, Rod?
Yes, I can hear you.
Lovely. Well, if you can hear me, everyone can hear me. Excellent. Thank you very much for that introduction. And welcome again, everyone, to Sunday in unusual times, but also celebrating a very unusual person as well, our wonderful friend Arif Ali and Hansib Publications, which was launched over 50 years ago. And we're here to celebrate both Arif and Hansib. And we've got an amazing array of people, you've probably seen, people who were queuing up, basically, to pay tribute to this extraordinary man of Guyana. Now, Arif was, you won't like me saying this, but he was born in 1935 in Essequibo. He arrived in the UK in 1957, which I do hear say was a very good year. He intended initially to study economics. He always obviously had a mind for money and for everything to do with making money. Now, he initially came to the UK, worked in different jobs, including on the buses and as a porter in a hospital. And then he decided to open a grocery shop. And it's that story that our next guest is going to take up. Now, I'd like to introduce to you Rosamund Grant. Rosamund is going to be speaking on behalf of herself, of her sisters and brothers, Waveney, Efwaf, of Leyland, and her late brother also, Bernie Grant MP. Now, Rosamund, I know you're there. If you wouldn't mind unmuting, I know you have some very special memories and stories of Arif in the early days around his grocery shop in Crouch End. So it's over to you now, Rosamund. If you could unmute, that'd be brilliant. Is she there? I saw her earlier. Rosamund, can you hear me? If Rosamund isn't there yet, I'll tell you a little bit. If you would chase her for me, Rod. Arif initially.
Hi,
there you are, lovely.
Okay, it was saying the host is not allowing me to unmute. You see, Juliet, you didn't really want me to talk, did you?
Don't blame me, girl.
Hi, Arif. Hello, everyone. How are you all? Arif, hi, it's so lovely to see you. So I'm just going to say a quick word, which I'm going to read because that'll keep me in time. So my family, Arif, have known you ever since you opened your grocery shop in Tottenham Lane. And that was in the early 60s. So we've known you about 60 years now. And that was such a special time because you were the only Guyanese that we knew in Hornsey. And my mother, who is Lily Grant, late Lily Grant, she was one of your early customers. And, you know, it was a really strange time because we used to have an account with your shop. And you loved my mother because she always paid her bill at the end of the month, unlike some other customers. And you would always say, you know, oh, teacher lady's always paying her bills, which is great. So that was my earliest memory. Obviously, I was a child then. And we got on very, very well. And in other capacities, obviously we knew you through your publications, but you were a strong supporter of my brother Bernie throughout his political career. And we attended many political and social events that you organized. For example, when Maya Angelou came to the country and you organized something at a hotel, and we went there and we met her, and it was a fabulous affair. All your affairs tended to be quite fabulous. And then when Bernie launched the Global Trade Center in Tottenham, you were one of the first people to be invited to be on the board. And so we've got lots of connections with you. And we valued at the time, and still do, your business acumen, your knowledge, your experience, etc. And just you've been a stalwart in our community, and you keep Caribbean people together, very much connected. And for that, we appreciate you. And you know, you keep all our memories alive, which is wonderful. So thank you and happy anniversary to you. I'm done.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Ros. Thank you very much. And of course, have I frozen or am I still there?
You're not there.
What is going on? Can you see me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay, for some reason, here I am. Here I am. For some reason I froze. You can see me now. Okay, I remember Rosamund very much in Crouch End, especially with your restaurant Bambaya, which you had, yeah, by Priory Park, which was excellent. I'm sure Arif was a frequent visitor. Everybody was then. And it was lovely that you mentioned the newspapers, because that's how Arif got into publishing, because as well as the food, people used to come from all over London because he was the only one having those West Indian foods, you know, that we all loved and remembered. And he also used to publish something that brought all the news from back home together in one place. And it was that started him on the road to publications, which I'm sure other people are going to mention in a little while. But Rosamund, thank you very much for that. It's lovely to hear that. Arif, I know you're sitting there listening to all of this. I'd like to ask you, we're going to hear from you for the first time now. I'd like to ask you, Arif, what were your dreams? I mentioned that you were interested in economics, and that's what you wanted to study when you first came to the UK. But what were your dreams growing up in Essequibo, young Arif? Somebody will have to unmute him.
Ronnie, can you get down on to see him? Arif.
Can we see him? Well, yeah, we can see. We can't hear you though, Arif, for some reason. Let me give them a little bit of background while we're waiting to unmute you. We know you had the shop in Tottenham Lane in Crouch End, and later on you sold that shop and launched Hansib in 1970 with West Indian Digest in 1971. Some of you may remember. I know Rosamund will, of course, being much older than I am. And it was a, it's all right, we're good friends. It was a monthly magazine. And Arif, you then bought the West Indian World, which I do remember, in 1973. And later on, you set up the Caribbean Times in 1981, the Asian Times in 1983, and the African Times in 1984, as well as, of course, Roots. I don't know how many of you remember Roots magazine. That was a glossy magazine for buppies. That's what we call the black upper crust. And I remember that very well. I think Hal Austin was one of the first editors of that. Now, Arif, have we got you off on mic? Can we speak to you now? If not, we'll come back to you. And what I'll do next then, I'll hand over to my co-host, to Juanita, who is going to, yes, you're unmuted. Hello, my dear.
Hello, hello. Just a very warm welcome to everybody. I'm actually standing in for Colin Babb. And I just wanted to mention actually that when Guyana Speaks were thinking of what to do instead of Border Bazaar, which is our usual event in December, Colin was the one who actually chatted to me and said, oh, you know, we really ought to do something for Arif. So that's how the Guyana Speaks side got involved in this. But of course, Ansel and Juliet and me had been thinking about doing this way back in the summer, I think, as well. So hence the collaboration. I'm reading now from Colin's book. So it's 1973 and Me. And it's basically about his experience of cricket in the 70s and in particular in 1973. But I've chosen a passage from the 1950s just so that you get a real sense of how well contextualized the book is. Weeks, Worrell and Walcott were the core members of an exciting new generation of black cricketers who dominated West Indies cricket throughout the 1950s and 60s. The three W's were all born within 18 months of each other in Barbados and born within a square mile of the Kensington Oval cricket ground in Bridgetown. Walcott, the youngest of the three, believed that he was delivered by the same midwife who also delivered Weeks and Worrell. The performances of the three W's, building on the foundations and legacy created in England by Leary Constantine and George Headley and others, gradually erased the belief that batting was a craft that white Caribbean batsmen were better disposed to. In the Caribbean, batting was largely perceived as a refined art form compared to the muscular activity of fast bowling. This was viewed by many of the European elite in the Caribbean as a laborious activity traditionally undertaken by black cricketers. This was also rooted in the social legacy from plantation hierarchies, where white employers increased their batting skills by having their black workers bowl at them for long periods of time. The 1950 win at Lord's and the 3-1 Test Series victory provided the slowly emerging post-war Caribbean diaspora in Britain, whether they were cricket fans or not, with a symbol of arrival and success. Sam King was part of the small group of delighted West Indian spectators at Lord's. 4 years into the Second World War, King was one of the many young people in Jamaica and across the Caribbean who enthusiastically responded to the call to volunteer for the war effort and fight for the mother country. In 1944, King replied to an advertisement in the Gleaner newspaper in Jamaica for people to enlist in active service in Britain. Months later, King travelled from Jamaica to Britain on the SS Cuba, a French troop ship with a French crew, which dropped anchor in Greenock on the River Clyde near Glasgow. This was followed by a train journey with other volunteers. Accompanied with a combination of kind words of support and much appreciated hot cups of tea and buns provided by the Salvation Army, King finally arrived at a military camp in Filey, Yorkshire, where he began training. King served with the Royal Air Force in England and returned to Jamaica after the war in 1947. According to King, the Jamaican economy had still not recovered from the effects of a hurricane in August 1944. The hurricane destroyed large swathes of the island's banana, coconut, coffee, and pimento crops. Many of King's friends in Jamaica were also unemployed. These were some of the reasons why King and many others in Jamaica were determined to take a chance and seek work opportunities in post-war Britain. King's fare for the journey to Britain on the Windrush was £28.10. His family had to sell 3 cows to raise the money for his passage. He rejoined the RAF soon after arriving back in Britain. 2 years later, he organised leave from his RAF duties to attend the last 2 days of the 1950 Test at Lord's. I went to the match in my Royal Air Force uniform, so I had to behave. King told me with a chuckle in his family living room in Brixton, South London. About a week before the match, there was an article in the newspaper which said the West Indians were jolly. They played good cricket, but they didn't know the finer points of field placing and other things, so England would beat them easily. They actually believed that. So when the West Indies beat England at Lord's, we were very, very happy. The English fans thought we were just jolly cricketers. So they were really shocked and disgruntled when we beat them. And there were some English people who came to the match just to see the West Indies play. I sat in an area of the ground with a couple of West Indians, and next to us were two people from Somerset who wanted to see the West Indies because we, the West Indians, could really play cricket. We could now stand up and be counted in this country, and the English really couldn't say anything about it because the facts were there for all to see. Thank you. Back over to you, Juliet.
Sorry, it takes so long to unmute everything in between. That was lovely. Thank you, Anita. That's brilliant. Now, I know that the author is actually in the audience, and I don't know if you wanted to say anything. I know you wanted to hear your dulcet tones reading it, but did he actually want to say anything at all? That's Colin Babb. No? If not, we can come back to him later.
I think we've got...
Hello, I'm actually here. Can I be heard?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you can. There you are.
Can I be seen and heard?
Yes, you can, Colin, in living colour.
Thank you very much. I won't, there's lots of things to do today, so I won't interrupt the flow too much. I just want to say I was slightly distracted by Peter's Christmas hat. One of the great things about today is not just to celebrate Arif, Cash, and the whole family, really, but also to see lots of friends who I've not seen for a long time on the screen staring at me. It's fantastic, really. Just a few things, really. I've written chapters in other people's books, but I've not written my own book, and I really wanted to do that. And I sent bits and pieces to various publishing companies, but didn't get much of a response. Then I decided, inspired really by David Dabydeen, to speak to Hansib. And when I did so, Arif was so straightforward. He said, just send me something. So I sent him something. Then he said, yeah, okay, let's do it. And that's Arif, really. And that's what I really, really liked. It was just, he almost like put a starting gun, and I had to like run like Usain Bolt to catch up. And just another thing is, I've done a few things to Hansib voluntarily because it's a great cause. I've gone to St. Vincent, I've been in Grenada, Guyana, walking into bookshops, appearing on television and radio, and lots of other things, because I think it's a great cause, it's a fantastic company, and I'm willing to, when I'm in the Caribbean, devote some of my time to move the project forward. So that's all I can say. Thank you very much to Hansib for supporting me and supporting all the other authors. And to Arif.
Colin. Okay, thank you, Colin. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ask him if he can hear you.
Can you hear me, Colin?
Yes, we can.
Oh, good, lovely. Thank you, Juliet. How are you? You look
I'm
well,
very
girl.
well, thank you.
You proper look good, Meow.
You must come and get your children, you know. You keep
Yeah. How are my children? Are they okay, darling?
Yeah, they're asking for you. It's a running joke we have. Don't worry, everyone. It's just a joke. Arif, did you want to comment? I tried to get you earlier to talk about those early days before we leave them behind. What were your thoughts coming to England? What were your dreams?
Well, before I get onto that, I'll quickly say thank you to so many people who were involved in this event, and to all of you who were listening, and the organizers, Rod, Juanita, yourself, and Colin and Ansel. Fantastic. You know, it's good to know that some of our friends are there and listening anyhow. And of course, to the last week when Arthur Thornton, they did that, and that was very nice, very thoughtful and very kind. And it brought tears not only to my eyes, but to my wife's eyes as well. But thank you all very much. What was the question you asked me? You remember I'm getting old now, so I keep forgetting.
Gosh, I was asking what your hopes and dreams were.
My dream. It was my original dreams. When I left Guyana, my brothers and sisters all thought I was going to go back to become president or prime minister. That was within my family. That was their ambition, and so that all changed as time goes by, and then I got married and whatnot and settled down, and then my children became the most important thing to me and the family. Hence I put all my energy into make sure I can take care of them, which I've done, and touch wood, they're all comfortable health-wise and happy.
That's excellent.
Okay. Was that answer okay?
Yeah, that was absolutely perfect. You're getting better in old age. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, now we're going to have a bit of entertainment for you, yeah? So I know this is somebody that you absolutely think the world of, musically, not just that he's the son of Guyana, but we've got the international flautist, the vocal gymnast.
Oh, I know who it is.
the man who is known as Keith Waite.
But he's always supported us, always. What a lovely man.
He really is. And I know that he has a tribute. He wanted to play you some old time songs from Guyana. So hopefully he's there. Hopefully he's unmuted. And hopefully he's ready to play. Keith.
I'm unmuted.
Yay.
How are you?
Come on.
Thank you.
Arif, you're looking good here.
Thank you. You look good as well. I like the shirt.
Thank you.
Like the shirt. Probably like the shirt.
I think I should do this Guyanese folk song called Here Auntie Bess.
Okay. Okay.
Here Auntie Bess, here Auntie Bess, here Auntie Bess, holla. Here Auntie Bess, here Auntie Bess, here Auntie Bess, holla. Oh, day morning, cock a crow, here Auntie Bess, holla. Eyes up your bundle, let her we go. Here Auntie Bess, holla. Wash it, holla, wash it, holla, wash it, holla, fa. Yes, she holla, yes, she holla. Here Auntie Bess, holla. I feel like a morning star. I feel like a morning star. Here Auntie Bess, here Auntie Bess, here Auntie Bess, holla. Here Auntie Bess, here Auntie Bess, here Auntie Bess, holla. 4 day morning, cock a crow. Here Auntie Bess, holla. Eyes up your bundle, let her we go. Here Auntie Bess, holla. Wash it, holla, wash it, holla, wash it, holla, fa. Yes, she holla, yes, she holla. Here Auntie Bess, holla. I feel like a morning star. I feel like a morning star. Hey!
So we're losing the sound.
Keith, we keep losing your sound.
No, you're right.
Yeah, it's going up and down.
problems at their end.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, but we keep losing it a bit, sorry to say.
Can you hear it now? Any better?
No.
No, it's not.
No, it's coming and going. Keith, I don't want to, yeah? Let's hold it there. I'll tell you why, because it's coming and going. And we all know how fabulous you sound normally, and I don't want this to, people who may not know you, everybody knows you, I don't want them to think that this is how you normally sound. It's coming and going a bit too choppily, yeah? And even now, I can't hear you now. Ah, no, there's something wrong. Are you unmuted? Definitely. Yes, you are. No, we've lost you. But listen, we're going to come back to you at the end of the program, okay? Yeah? We heard you singing. It's just the playing we couldn't hear. Now you've gone completely. Anyway, you look fabulous, so don't worry about it. We can't hear you, sweetie. We can't hear you. Okay, we're going to go back to Keith at the end of the program, yeah? Thank you very much for that. We heard the first bit, and thank you. We'll go back to you at the end, don't worry. Now, as I mentioned, and thank you for that, we've also got some tributes from a number of people from all over, not just the UK, but virtually the world. I'll tell you a bit more about that later on. But one of our first tributes, which we're going to just listen to now, is from one of our lords. It's from Lord Simon Woolley, who is known mostly as the head of Operation Black Votes, who's done more than anybody really in this country to make sure that not just black people, but the young people registrate to vote. And he's done amazing work over the years. This is a tribute specially recorded for Arif. And here he is, Lord Simon Woolley.
So I'm going to be sharing my screen. If you can't see it, then you'll have to shout. But I'm going to share now. And we'll go to Simon Woolley.
You got it.
And here we are.
Lovely. Thank you.
I want to say this gives me great pleasure of being afforded a little bit of time to pay tribute to a great friend of mine, a great friend of all of ours, Arif Ali. I've been an activist fighting for social and racial justice for the best part of 30 years. And about 26 years ago, that I was brought to an office on Fonthill Road in North London to meet a man who they said he's going to help you with your cause. And so I went up to these offices, small offices, and there I met Arif Ali. Small man, diminutive, very forceful, very engaging. And he said with his Caribbean lips, I'm going to look after you. I'm going to make sure that your voice is strong. And together we're going to do some great stuff. He kept his word for 27 years. And particularly in those first formative years of Operation Black Vote, it was him and his newspapers and his vision that gave us voice, that gave us meaning, that gave us guidance at a time when we so desperately needed it. He wanted nothing from us, and he always gave us space. Brother, he would say to me, what do you want to write next? What's the next campaign? I have a lot of time for Arif Ali. I haven't seen him for a while. I think the last time I saw him was at the TUC conference where he'd always be selling his books. And I think on one of those occasions, about 2 or 3 years ago, he didn't know, but I was on stage doing my bit. And I said that I wanted to thank a special friend who had always told our stories. And I called Arif Ali up on stage to be with me. He was embarrassed, he was angry with me, but he wept. He He is not used to being the center of attention, but he deserves to be, because there's not many figures in British history that has given their life, their establishment, their soul to the struggle as he has done. And every year he still writes to me, "How are you, brother? When are we going to meet? Let's get this lockdown over with." So I just want to say, Arif Ali, super brother, thank you. Thank you for supporting me personally and my organization, our organization, Operation Blackbird. But above all, thank you for supporting us. There's not one activist in this country you haven't supported. Just incredible. Thank you, brother.
The marvelous Simon Woolley there. Juanita, it's all yours. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're moving on now to Alex Pascal OBE. If you're in the house, please unmute yourself. I'm just going to see if I can find Alex on the participant view.
I'm hoping that Joyce, his wonderful wife, will also be with him. Many years ago, Mia knows Alex well as well, and I worked with Alex at Black Londoners. I was privileged. Basically, he started my education here in this country when I worked there as a young journalist many years ago. And he's been a colleague and a friend ever since. So I hope he's here.
Alex, are you online? I can't see from the list of names on the participants. I can't see your name on there. So perhaps, I know, I think Alex was going to talk about, or maybe refer to that early period, Arif, when you first started out here with a shop. Is that right, Arif? So, and while we're waiting, I just wanted to ask you, how did you make the shift from retail into publishing? Arif? Let's see if Arif is there. Where's Arif gone?
Hi, Winnie.
Ah, you're there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm here. Thank you.
Did you hear the question?
Yes, I did. The shop was the vehicle I used to get the money to go into publishing.
But how did you actually, I mean, how does anybody just wake up and then think, oh, I'm going to publish? I mean, there's all the sort of technology around publishing. I mean, how do you do it? And then how do you find the market? And then how do you, you know, just the technical side of it all?
One of the people who came to my shop over the days was the editor of the Hornsey Journal, a fellow by the name of Mitchell. And I asked him if he'd allow me to have a half a page editorial, and I will supply him with half a page advertising to justify the editorial, to deal with West Indian matters in the Hornsey area. And he said yes, but when he took it up to the directors, the Thompson organization controlled the Hornsey Journal in those days, they refused. So the idea started to, you know, get more and more powerful. As you get a refusal, you think how to do it. So gradually the idea came, and I sold the shop. And my father said to me, Beta, which is son, you got a shop there and now you want to sell it and you're going into auditing. I said, Papa, not auditing, editing. He said the same thing, boy, same thing. So I sold the shop. We put the money into publishing, and the rest is, I'm here talking to you today. So it was probably a good idea. It wasn't a good idea to the family then because we struggled a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been really tough in the beginning.
Oh yes, my children my wife, Pamela, Ella, Kash, Kameen, Sarah, Zahid, Sharif, I have to thank them because they were the ones who stayed with me when the gas was cut off and the electricity was cut off in our home, and when we didn't have enough to eat and whatnot. They stayed with me. And up to this day, I've never heard any one of them complaining, why are you doing this? And it's something I will probably, you know, live with until I die. Yeah.
So,
lovely family.
Can you remember the first book that you published?
The first book, yes, I can remember it vividly. It was more, we did West Indians in Britain. You see, West Indians in the UK never had any good press at all. As long as I lived here, we never had any good press. Every time you pick up the paper, any paper, even local paper, Islington Journal,
Oh, we're losing
Arif,
South
bit.
London Press. It's always negative and worry.
Can you hear us, Arif? I think you've
have you?
paused. Yeah.
I can hear you, Juliet.
Yeah, you're glitching a bit, sorry. But yeah, you're freezing a little bit. Okay, I think what Arif was saying was that one of his first publications was West Indians in Great Britain, which he edited himself. I think the name later changed to Third World Impact. Is that correct?
Yes, remember. Yes.
There you are. There you are.
Yes, that is so. That is so.
Sorry, you were juddering a bit there. I'm glad you didn't mention the Hackney Gazette where I used to work and awful press it gave people.
You still got a bicycle? Can you hear?
I can hear you, and I remember the rude things and the photographers used to send following me down the road to take photographs of me and my bicycle and then publish them. I haven't forgotten.
You're one of the pioneers, Juliet. You must never.
Thank goodness he's gone again. What's happening now?
I think, Juliet, should we just...
Alex, yourself, there's so many pioneers we've got.
Thank you. I just called Alex, actually. He's jumping on, so he might be ready now.
Somebody came on an iPad.
Was that Alex?
Juliet, should we ask Peter Ramrayka to join first, and then we'll connect to Alex. So Peter, I believe you're online. I saw you online, and your name was there. You're unmuted, so if you could share your contribution.
Hello, Arif. Can you hear me? Wave your hand.
See you. I'm still seeing Juanita.
Yeah.
Mind you, it's better to look at Juanita than you, Peter. I'm sorry to say that.
What can I say about Arif? I mean, I first met Arif on the day the United States invaded Cambodia. And we kept in touch. And Arif, like Simon Woolley said, has always been an encouragement. People think that Arif is just concentrating on politics. He wasn't. He also concentrated on the cultural things. So a number of organizations that I was involved in cultural things, Arif was there supporting us. It was really, really great because Arif is someone who inspires you but encourages you. I spent my life 50 years in the NHS as Arif. I joined the NHS in 1970. And Arif and I traveled around the world taking British systems and thinking to countries. I was mission director of a flying eye hospital. And when I told Arif about various things and so on, he said, "Man, why don't you write a book?" So I said, "Arif, write a book about you." You know, he said, "You write a book about yourself." And he kept not pestering me, but encouraging me. And lo and behold, as was shown in some of the publications, Arif assisted very much with his team to get recycling the son of a British Raj, because I wanted to demonstrate how people like Arif encourage us to think and to think about the challenges that we've had and how we come through that. And so, Arif, it's a great pleasure to be talking to you about your own inspiration and your family's inspiration, but very much how
Thank you, Peter.
You've worked with me and you've supported me in all that I've done. So thank you. And I was so pleased that in 19...
Yes, I can't hear it.
The European...
Thank you, Peter.
The European race, yeah. I mean, you were really great. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Peter. I actually made an error there, Arif, because Peter very kindly sent us a recording so that we wouldn't put him on the spot. But we wanted to see the hat, so of course I had to bring him in there.
Of course. I'll have to speak to him about the hat.
yeah. So, Alex, if
yes.
you are online, please do.
Good morning, Arif. How are you doing, boy? Arif, I've been thinking a lot.
Good morning, Ali. Morning.
Good. I've been thinking, excuse me, a lot about you, and I've been looking back to when I knew you from the little shop in Tottenham Lane, then down to Hornsey Rise, then to Matthias Road, then to Hansib. It's a long time, boy. It's quite a long time. And I recall you always sitting, we call you the chief, but the boss.
Thank you,
and
Alex.
What to me is unique about you, there are two sides. The business side, which many of us did not understand.
Alex, may I be wicked and interrupt you? Would you share your video so that we can see you?
Oh, where do I do that? You see, I'm not like you handling these good things.
It looks like a camera, Alex.
It does.
If you see the thing that says video.
No, you could see the good looking.
There you
Yay, perfect.
Yes, so, and is the business side, the human side, and the understanding of where we as a people under the British in Britain was disenfranchised. Also the collective of important people, and I always put Rudy at the number one, around you, this vast building that is today no more the way it was. And how on your little chair in that office on Fonthill Road, you were able to structure and allow each person, and I hope they will have the, let me put the responsibility and understanding to pay tribute to you, Hansib, and your children or your family, because being on the other side where I was handling the media and you were handling the press, I fully understand what you were going through, how you dealt with it, and how you brought Black, in particular the Caribbean people from around the country, to be able to put up with the racism that we were facing here. It's something that I wish it was today, because all of us would have been heading down to you, the meeting point of the press. And I think that was fascinating. And the fact that you have continued, there is one chair, I think it's made of cane, when we went to Jamaica after the death of Bob, and we put you in the chair, and Sid, Mike Phillips and others and I think I have a picture of it somewhere, we call you the chief. and you have lived that. I think everyone in today's press, that included those who might have gone to the Voice after you, that included the photographers, they have had something that you allowed them to gain. And we have to say, and I'm saying on behalf of Joyce Ayandele, who you gave an opportunity to get some knowledge, Deirdre, it's been fascinating to deal with somebody like you. You're well tied into the Caribbean. You are of Asian descent. You've never shown that to me and others, although some people tried to bring that around you. And I have to thank you for the balance of what you have created and maintained to this very day, knowing that family life always takes a lot out of us, but we give so much more to the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
That was lovely, Alex.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alex Pascal OBE, I should say. And one thing Alex mentioned there, which is something we should remember, Arif was involved in all these different newspapers, and the one thing he did do was bring through so many aspiring young journalists. In his heyday, he employed hundreds of journalists, black journalists, and he also was the sounding board, the first step for a number of journalists who went on to work on national newspapers and national radio and national television. So for that, we also have to be thankful to that man, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you, Juliet.
I think we've got now Alexander the Great. If you're online, just unmute yourself.
Yes, Alexander D. Great, please.
D. Great. What did I say?
D. Great. How are you?
You put in Alexander the Great, you get a 2,300-year-old Macedonian.
I would deserve it too. Alexander the Great.
From one Alex to another. I'd love to see you here, Mr. Pascal OBE. All right.
Voice mute.
Okay.
They can hear if you talk.
Okay. So you this is the second time you're going to hear it. Who don't like that? Hold on. I just tuned this before. Keith will understand the need to be in tune. Still not happy. Hold on, sorry. Okay. Born 1935 in Danielstown, British Guyana. He walked the dusty roads of Lake One in just his bare feet. Refusing leather shoes, unlaced sneakers became his fashion. He wore no suit, just a Nehru shirt, very neat. At 22, he left home to travel via the Canaries, through Spain, Italy, and France, ending up in London town. When he arrived at Victoria Station, he had no money, but refused to let that situation get him down. Arif Ali is the founder of Hansib Publications, serving the interests of quite a few Caribbean nations, reflecting their successes as well as airing their frustrations. This man deserves a great many standing ovations, because you do. Arif worked on the buses and became a hospital porter. where he met a young nurse whom later he made his wife. In 1966, he started up his own greengrocers. That entrepreneurial spirit guided his whole life. His shop also sold newspapers from the English-speaking islands, connecting the diaspora here within Great Britain. From 1971, publishing several newspapers, reflecting the stories which needed to be written. Oh yes, I say Arif Ali is the founder of Hansib Publications, serving the interests of quite a few Caribbean nations, reflecting their successes as well as airing their frustrations. This man deserves a great many standing ovations. 50 years supporting the UK's local communities on vulnerable issues which Arif set out to protect, like deaths in custody, Black History Month and the New Crossfire, in which he campaigned for understanding and respect. His work in Carnival cannot be overestimated, sponsoring and providing heritage merchandise through his newspapers, magazines, and media platforms. He assisted this great art form's exponential rise. Oh yes, it was Arif Ali, is the founder of Hansib Publications, serving the interests of quite a few Caribbean nations, reflecting their successes as well as airing their frustrations. This man deserves a great many standing ovations. Mainstream publishers mostly ignored Caribbean writers, so Arif Ali made this his own personal pilgrimage. In 1997, he sold off his newspaper business to publish books on Black and Asian heritage. Committee member of several important advisory groups, with people like Baroness Scotland and Herman Woolley. He has now produced 250 brilliant books. Yes, let us celebrate Hansib's golden anniversary. I talking about Arif Ali, is the founder of Hansib Publications, serving the interests of quite a few Caribbean nations, reflecting their successes as well as airing their frustrations. This man deserves a great many standing ovations. I tell you, this man deserves a great many standing ovations.
Hey.
Wonderful, wonderful.
This is now on video on YouTube. I sent it to Cash this morning. So after this, you want to check it out, Arif Ali, on YouTube. The song is there for you. I've already recorded it a couple of days back.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Excellent.
My pleasure. Okay.
Thank you so much, Alexander the Great. I will never say.
All right.
So we're going to move now to hear a tribute from Martin Hoyle. So I'm going to just share the screen. Can you see the screen? Should be able to.
Yes.
Hello everyone. My name is Nigel, and on behalf of myself, my wife Asha, and our daughter Rosa, I want to wish Arif many, many congratulations on Hansib's 50th anniversary. What an achievement. We can remember when we first met Arif about 20 years ago. We were called to a meeting there to discuss our proposal for a new book. And it was in Fonthill Road in Seven Sisters, somewhere around there. And we climbed these stairs into this wonderful office of Arif's. And on the walls were posters and photographs of people like Nelson Mandela, Muhammad Ali, Maya Angelou, Stokely Carmichael, Jesse Jackson. We were amazed. This was obviously an important man sitting there behind his desk. Anyway, what impressed us more than that was his attitude to Rosa. He spent most of the first 10 minutes talking to her and engaging with her, and even peeled an orange for her. So we saw him there as a family man, not just a publisher, and we were very pleased with that. He eventually agreed to our proposal, and the book came out, Remember Me, Achievements of Mixed Race People Past and Present.
Oh, sorry, that's my my fault for... Let me just go back.
That we've been able to make several initiatives by Asha. Thereafter, there were several interviews with him in which he revealed his story of life from Guyana to London, from the country boy with no shoes to the great metropolitan publisher that he is today. Now, since then, altogether, we've written 11 books for Arif, for Hansib, and we're very pleased to say that we've been able to make several initiatives which we think are very important. First of all, the size of the print in the books, 12 points, so that it's accessible for people who are reading it who are dyslexic. Remember, 10% of the population. Also, lots of illustrations to aid people in understanding the books, and make sure they're accessible and keeping the price down under £10. So for all these things, we're very grateful to Arif and Hansib. Finally, there's a couple of people I'd like to mention who have supported him all the way. Remember, he couldn't have done this on his own. And one of them is Cash, who is now producing the books to a very high quality. The other person is Arif's wife, Pam. And I'm sure he would agree that without her and her support and love, he would not have been able to achieve half of what he's done. So altogether, we're very pleased to have been associated with Arif all these years, and we wish him well on this wonderful anniversary and hope there are many more years to come. Thank you.
Wonderful. So I think now we'll move on to any audience tributes. If anyone has got any tributes, can I just suggest that I haven't noticed many people putting in their comments in the chat. Maybe that's me not paying attention, but if anybody has any particular tributes they want to share, we're going to be saving them.
Yeah.
But also, we've got Layla Ramdeen, I think. Layla, if you're online, I know you wanted to share a particular tribute with Arif. Perhaps you could come in and just unmute yourself. She doesn't appear to be there. Juliet, did you see any that you...
Yes, I did. There's a lovely one there from Dawn Hill, who was who's at Black Cultural Archives, of course, and was instrumental in working alongside myself and Professor Elizabeth Anyonwu to get the statue of Mary Seacole erected outside of, well, opposite Parliament, keeping a beady eye on Parliament. So she said, greetings to you and for your long-standing achievements. That's really lovely. Sakaya has said, excellent, love the song. A number of people have asked where they can hear Alexander de Graetz, so that's lovely. We've also got people say, yeah, brilliant song, greetings to you, and also there's information there. which, oh, Juanita, you put that. Don't forget the 25% discount, okay? There's a code for it as well. And that's available to everyone who would like to order any of the Hansib publications. There's a book order and there's an email there, cash@hansibpublications.com. Don't forget that those books are available just in time for Christmas. And we were talking about books earlier. Don't forget his Arif's excellent Nation series as well. There's beautifully bound, beautifully illustrated. I call them coffee table books, but they're much more than that. They're absolutely beautiful travelogues, if you like, historical tributes to the Caribbean islands, and they're absolutely lovely. My own children and young friends have found lots of information in them, and they're really good reference book to have. If you work at a school or a university, make sure your college or school has a copy in their library.
Juliet, I'm just going to ask Khalil Ali to unmute, because I know he's one of the Hansib books and he'd just like to say a few words.
Hi, everybody. Assalamu alaikum, old man, Arif. You remember that? Hello, how are you? Actually, I've got lots to say, but maybe another program. But I just want to share with you, over the years that I've known him, he's given me some words of wisdom. And he's a very funny chap, very inspirational. And here they are. And before he tries to claim them, I'll have to tell him that I've copyrighted these comments. Number one, don't keep your cash under the bed. Buy Hansib books. Number two, you know, boy, there is no money for authors of books. Just enjoy the journey. The third one is, once you have one book under your belt, more people will get to know you, even if they don't buy your book. And the fourth one is, as a published author, you will now have to live your book. In other words, go out and sell it, like my friend Colin Babb has been doing. And the fifth one, I shared with people last week. I asked him about honors and things like that, and he hates the idea. He says that there's no point to honor me with an OBE, Order of the British Empire, when there is no such thing as an empire anymore. Instead, give me an award, something like OBFM, which means order books from me. By the way, as I said, I've copyrighted the above, and I just wanted to congratulate him. I mean, you know, I wish we didn't have this dreadful pandemic and so on. And as my friend Donald Trump said, you know, blame the Chinese. I don't think there's any Chinese here, but we have to blame them. But we have to get together, all of you guys. I just want to hug you all, because that's the way we will sell our books. And take good care, Arif. See you when you're 90. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Khalil. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think that captured your essence very well, Arif. I remember every time I left the country, you seemed to be like a homing pigeon. You'd be standing beside me, say, Juliet, Juliet, your case don't look full. Just take these papers for me now.
Juliet, I'm wondering if we can take a question. I've got somebody here called Usman Ali who's just asking if we have time for questions. And I think we should be okay for time if we just take one question.
Yes.
Is that okay? So, yeah. Usman, if you're online, do you want to just unmute yourself for the time being?
Yeah, can everyone hear me? Is my voice okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear you, yes.
Amazing, thank you so much. I just want to say it's been really, really lovely hearing everyone's kind of thoughts and life stories and experiences about how they met Arif. And kind of my question, I don't know if it's really, I don't know, I'm trying to think of how to phrase it, but basically somebody mentioned earlier that there was how Arif kind of managed to kind of unify Black Caribbean communities in a really, really kind of succinct manner, especially in the kind of like facing the tide of racism. And kind of what I wanted to ask was kind of how we can do more of that today. Like, how can we collectively organize more? Like, what advice would you give us, Arif, about how we can do this more in the present? because I work with a youth organisation called I Have a Voice. We basically work with young people to challenge inequities in society today by communicating them with Parliament. So I just wanted to kind of hear your thoughts more about that, if you have any.
There is one campaign that I'm involved with at the moment, which whoever is listening to this program may want to send a letter to the Home Secretary not to deport or continue deporting the Jamaicans who came to this country when they were very young and contributed, worked, paid taxes, national insurance, and now the government are they are actually deporting. We had, I think, about 30 or 40 went 2 weeks ago. So a letter to the Home Secretary, to the Prime Minister to say to stop this. It's actually a racist idea to deport people who have lived in this country for in excess of 60 years. And that is something that is at the moment playing on my mind a little bit. And many of those people I worked with, many of those people supported the work that we have all done. And I would like if you, whoever is listening today, if it's 10, 20 or 100 or whatever, it would be a good idea to drop a line to the Home Secretary. Her name is Ugly Patel.
I always like to say pretty awful, but
well done, okay. Or you
no, yes, I think just so that we don't go too much over time, we've got a lot of comments in the chat, which is great, but we've also got another section a bit later on where the audience can offer their tribute. So we'll come back to that. But I think for now, I'm just going to go and share my screen and connect you to Mike Massive. So
oh golly.
Yes.
He's one of my editors.
Yes, he edited the Caribbean Times, didn't he?
Yes, that's right, yeah. Oh, I just saw Clem Seecharan there.
Hold on.
Oh, more to come.
50 years. For 50 years, Hansib.
I see you got Zita's name on there now, Zita Holbourne.
You're not supposed to be looking.
Oh, sorry. You know, we have been honored with some beautiful, lovely people, our authors. Hansib has got in excess of 150 authors, and every one of them, they're lovely people. They're thoughtful, they're kind, and they put out good ideas. So those of you who have not read some of those books, check them out, because some of the ideas they brought out, you know, good to read.
Okay, Arif, I'm just going to finish playing this to the end. It's the volume on it's not very loud, but hopefully most of you will be able to hear it.
Okay, Wendy.
Oh, sorry, going backwards now.
50 years. Hansib was not the first.
Is that you in the background there, Michael?
Yes. Recording.
We can't hear you.
Can I just check? Can you actually see the screen that's showing Michael Massive?
I can see. Yes, I can see Michael sitting down there.
Okay.
We can't hear him very well.
With his hand is full, but I can't hear him.
Oh, you can't hear him. Okay.
Is he in the audience?
Bring up the volume.
I can't, if the volume's as high as it will go on his and on my laptop, so I don't think we can do it much louder.
Okay. Yeah.
Shall we, because we're going to send this to you, Arif, I don't know, should I continue playing it or should we just keep it till?
Keep it.
No, if I can't hear him, keep it, because
okay.
I would like to have a minute of your space whenever you can spare it. To just thank a few people, please.
Okay, let me just do stop. Right, so we're back here. We'll just send you the PowerPoint so that you can actually listen in your own leisure.
Oh, I listen to it every morning. Every morning.
So, Juliet, I think it's over to you. You had a question, I think, for Arif.
I had a question, but I know Arif really wants to say his bit. One of the things that I mentioned very, very quickly when we were talking about the Nation series, that it was very good research information. One of the things I found out about 2020 is that there's a lot of information coming out that people weren't aware of before. So in this audience here, we have a lot of scholars, we have a lot of educators, we have a lot of parents. Where should people go to find out the history that basically you've collated over the last 50 years, Hansib Publications? Where is the best place for them to find that?
Well, Juliet, all the books are available on Amazon. They're available internationally or through Hansib's own website. So it's there. Of course, those of you who have our address, we run our own book club as well. So it's not difficult to get at, but sometimes people forget to order them. And occasionally when we have book shows, as Juanita and Rod, they have Guyana Speaks once at the end of each month, only because of the present situation that has stopped. Again, we go there and take our books. So the books are available and we publicize it as much as we can. Maybe we should do more of that.
Yeah. But what about the newspapers?
We are not involved anymore with newspapers, but you still have the Voice newspaper going, even though it doesn't sort of carry the type of campaigning thing for our community. At least it carries information that are relevant to our community. So those of you who are listening, if you don't get a copy of The Voice, you should get it. I mean, you know, they have been, when we were with Caribbean Times, Asian Times, African Times, they were our rivals, but they're a good newspaper and they're still going. And the people who run it, they're nice people. So if you can support The Voice, it is better to have what I will call a substandard newspaper than have no newspaper at all. Sorry guys from the Gleaner.
Can I just quickly interrupt, Arif, because just one of the things that Mike Massivhip was going to say in his video was just about the fact that people hadn't written enough about the work that you did during the early 1970s. So with the West Indian Digestive, Caribbean Times, sorry, Digest, I keep saying the wrong thing, Caribbean Times, Asian Times, African Times. So I think what Juliet was alluding to is actually the back copies of the newspapers. You know, if scholars want to know, to learn more about what you were doing back then or what was going on back then, where do they go to find the material? Where are the archives?
London Metropolitan Archives have got copies of everything we have published. And so has the Black Cultural Archives in Brixton. So anyone who wants to see copies of the work we've done, those two organizations have kindly taken all the copies that we have ever published and they have got it available. And I know that they're putting it on these fancy things, so it's easy to access it. Ansel Wong can tell you more about that.
That's right. And in fact, during this year, when everything's been closed, through the Metropolitan Archives, you can actually go online and research online as well.
Oh yes, they've been very good and very kind to put the work on. It's available anyhow.
Yes. Okay, so
now,
there's no...
Can I say something now? Is it my time yet or not?
Arif, you're going to have a lot of time towards the end. We've got something special coming up at the end.
All right,
yeah.
So that will be okay. That's all right.
Let's try and stick to schedule. And
yes.
I
okay,
think,
please.
Juliet, are you going
I'm ready.
Good, good.
Yes, we've got another contributor who, again, wants to talk about your contribution, but also wants to read from one of the publications also. And that is the very well-known David Dabydeen. We all know him, and he's in the audience.
You all are embarrassing me a hell of a lot here this morning. Really, you all are embarrassing me. And David is going to add to that embarrassment.
Yes, exactly. So hopefully, that's what a tribute's all about.
Hi, David. Hi, David.
Thanks, Juanita.
Hi, David. How are you?
Hi, Arif. Great to see you, man. Yeah.
Nice to see you.
I just ate a plate of Guyanese black pudding made by a Guyanese woman called Dorothy who lives in Rains Park, and I did it in your honor. I feel a bit stuffed and a bit... Arif, in 1986, I came to see you with Brinsley Samaru, and we informed you that 1988 marked the 150th anniversary of the first arrival of Indian indentured laborers to Guyana. And we asked you whether you could publish some books on this subject, thinking you would say, oh God, how much does it cost? What should we do? Right away you said, yes, go ahead and do the whole lot. And then you said to me afterwards, let's set up a press to publish books. Because at the time you published West Indian Digest. And as a result of that huge enthusiasm, and don't forget, you did pay me for 6 months as well, when I really needed the money, right? As
You're one of the lucky ones for David.
As your editorial advisor, God knows what title you gave me. But I see so many of your writers now present: Petamber Persaud, Peter Ramrayka, who did I see? A whole lot of people, Frank Singh and so on, right? Clem Seecharan.
Colin Babb's online, and
Babb.
he's actually mentioning that you were a big inspiration to him when he completed his MA at Warwick.
Arif, because of you, you've published all of us, and we're really honoured that you've done this. Personally, in 1984, when I was a fledgling academic at Warwick on a 3-year contract, you gave one whole page of Caribbean Times, a whole full page, reviewing my very first book called Slave Song. I mean, that's amazing, right? I was then picked up by the Zia Mohyeddin at ITV, who then commissioned me to do a whole bloody program, 1 hour to write and present the program on the relationship between art, museums, and the revenues from the slave trade, right?
David, you've done some wonderful work. Don't you ever forget that. Don't you ever forget that.
Arif, you gave me that opportunity inadvertently, probably, by giving me a whole bloody page in Caribbean Times, which is magnificent. I want to read a quick poem for you. It wasn't written for you, but you published it first in a book called Coolie Odyssey, right? So it's called Coolie Mother. I've modified it to put your name in, okay? Jasmati live in Buckbung hut, big like batter shoe box. Beat clothes, weed yard, chop wood, feed fowl for this body and that body and every blasted body. Fetch water, all day fetch water, like if the whole slow-flowing Kanji River God create just for she one own bucket. Till she put bottom crack, and she hand cut up, and curse swarm from she mouth like red ants. And she cough blood on the ground, but mash it in. Because Jasmati heart hard, she mind set hard, to hustle save she one slow penny. Because one dutty make dam cross the Kanji. And she son Arif got to go to school at Georgetown. Must wear clean starch pants or they get laugh at he. Strap leather in his foot and he must read book, learn talk proper, take exam, go to England University. Not turn out like he rum sucker chama daddy.
David, that applies to you as well, boy. That applies.
Well,
You've done wonderful.
Still a rum sucker chamar, Arif, right?
Okay. Thank you, David.
That was amazing. That was amazing. And there's some beautiful tributes as well, which we'll get to in a little while. People who are just joined and putting some lovely things in the chat, but we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll spare your blushes for a few seconds, Arif, okay?
I think you all are making me all welled up. My throat and my eyes are all not proper at the moment. I can't see because I'm so tearful at the moment. And I thank you. You people are such lovely people. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Well, it was a group effort, and everybody's here because they want to pay tribute to you for your golden anniversary.
Far and beyond the call of duty, far and beyond. I'm really grateful. And my family, my wife is here, and my son-in-law is here, and my son Cash, they're listening, and I hope my granddaughters are. But, the family is so proud that you have done it. And, I have to tell you, my daughter, Camille, she thinks that I'm a nobody. She always says that, don't get your head too big. You're nobody, forget it.
Well, we know different.
And then our youngest son, Sharif, he would say to me, Dad, I'm so proud of you. So, you have them from one end saying, you're a nobody, Dad. Dad, you're a somebody. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you.
Oh, there's more to come. Somebody mentioned Clem earlier. You mentioned Clem earlier. Well, we have a pre-recorded piece from him. I think he's also in the audience, but Juanita, if you would play the pre-recorded piece from him, please.
I will do. Hold on.
Lovely. Thank you.
Hi, Clem.
Hello, Clem. Yes, Arif, I want to congratulate you today on the 50th anniversary of Hansib. And I just want to say something about the relationship I've had with you over the last 32 years. I want to thank you for all the help you've given me. Because I'd like to point out, I've written, 60 or 17 books now. And the first one I did was with Birbal Singh, and you published it in 1988. It was called Indo-West Indian Cricket. And I remember you sending me to interview Ivan Madras somewhere in some desolate place in South London.
Brixton.
The result of that interview is one of the finest things I've ever done. So I want to thank you, first of all, for publishing the first book I ever wrote. And for some reason, you have continued to go with me. Another piece of work which I'm very proud of is a book which was published around 2009 called From Ranjit to Rohan, which deals with the great West Indies cricketer Rohan Kanhai. But it's not just about Rohan Kanhai. It's about the whole social environment, the whole political context in which his mastery developed and his thrived. And I want to thank you for giving me that freedom to be able to explore the game, to explore its great players, and for allowing me to use far more pictures in these books than it makes any economic sense at all. But then I don't think that was necessarily your great strength. But your magnanimity, your generosity, these have made it possible for us to publish these books. I just want to talk about some of the recent works that you have done for me. And, we have already brought out 2 volumes. You have published 2 volumes of the hand-in-hand history of cricket in Guyana, which cover the period from 1865 to 1914. We've got 2 more volumes coming, which I hope will take us to Guyana's independence, which is 1966. So I'm extremely grateful to you for all of this. And then last year, publishing a collection of beautiful essays, which I have edited, essays by Ian MacDonald on sport, which I have edited and annotated and so on. And they're again beautifully illustrated. So I just want to thank you for this great piece of work that we've been involved with. And I don't want to take up more of your time, Arif, but I look forward to see you after the end of this plague, and so we can talk and laugh as we always do. Once again, thank you very much for walking with me all these miles over the last 32 years and for producing a body of work on the history of West Indies cricket, which I hope will outlast us and will continue to be a source of education for our people for the next 100 years or more.
Yeah.
Take care, my brother.
Thank you, Clem.
Congratulations. 50 years.
Thank you, Clem.
Excellent work. Thank you. Cheerio.
Regards to Chris. Give my regards to Chris, Clem. Okay.
All the best, my brother. Cheerio. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Juanita. Thank you.
That's okay.
You all have really, Juanita, you and Juliet and Ansel and whoever it is, you all have really dug up some of my friends, haven't you? You've really done well. Lovely to hear David and Clem.
We're trying. I know. I think we've got Uncle Eric actually online. So should we attempt to get Uncle Eric in? Uncle Eric, can you unmute yourself if you're there? Eric Huntley.
Because Arif, you mentioned the Metropolitan Archives. Of course, the Huntley Archives are also at Metropolitan Archives.
That's right. Yes, they do. Yes, sir.
Yeah, they're doing very good work.
Oh yes, they've always done. The Huntley Archives, I mean, the Metropolitan Archives have done good work, and they've done a lot of conferences, which they named the Huntley Conferences, and the annual thing, and they've done wonders. Brought out a lot of information that needs to be brought out,
Thank you, Arif. I think Uncle Eric's ready now. Uncle Eric?
Yes, I am ready. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Huh?
We can't see you. Put your
What do I have to press?
You see the stop video one, the one that looks like a camera? Just click on that.
It's at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. It's the second one in from the left.
It has start video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just click on that one, please.
Start video.
Yeah. Click on it and you'll see your face.
Yeah, so it's
good?
the second one in. We can't see you yet.
But we can hear you, Eric. We can hear you.
But we can hear you. It's okay.
I had better take advantage of that you can hear me at least.
Yes, yes.
My not so bad. I don't look as good as Arif.
Well, I should hope not. I should hope not.
To see me and to hear me. In the old days when I spoke with Cherry in 1953, I didn't need any notes. But time has taken a toll on me, and I've had to make notes, you see.
Oh, you've done very well. You've done very well.
I start off with Fonthill Road, because this is where, you know, Fonthill Road, which is next to Finchley Park Tube Station, was the street scene for the clothing industry, which displayed the wares for all of us to behold. While behind the show windows, the machinists labored in sweatshops conditions in contrast to the beautiful costumes they produced. The offices of Caribbean Times in the street was my favorite regular place to visit for the purpose of gleaning the news from Caribbean newspapers on issues to do with the environment. I published a bi-monthly Caribbean Environment Watch. I was always welcome. A personal service provided by Arif says a lot about the relationship with migrant groups and to the role played by Caribbean Times. On arrival in the UK, Arif was struck by the speed with which the question of identity he faced. He was cast as Black, a description which helped to politicize his experiences, sorely needed after his home was firebombed. We both worked at London Transport, which was much more exposed. Arif worked in the buses, whereas I worked on the underground, but the buses were much closer to the public perception of racism, and it was shown by the way in which London Transport reacted as well. Arif eventually joined the Labour Party and became active in the trade union movement. He was the first non-white employee to be elected as sports organizing secretary for the tennis section of the union, a position he carried with it a number of worthwhile frills and of course some responsibilities. After leaving London Transport, he opened a grocery in Hornsey, which soon became a hub for the community, which included the responsibility for savers, throwing the box hand, susu. He started a credit union, managing a pop group. Would you believe that? Can you believe that Arif managed a pop group? What didn't he do? It's worth recalling and reminding ourselves that during the early years, the brunt of the racist policies was borne by migrants from the Caribbean, who were mainly of African descent. There may be some, I don't want to stress too much about that, but what I want to stress is that most of Arif's publications and his commitment were really to further the cause of the problem that we face, the diaspora Africans faced. Indeed, most of the books Arif published were about the struggles about the migrants from the African diaspora, Caribbean Times being the flagship. Arif even succeeded where I failed. I went to see the managing director of Smith's, who was the major distributor of the day, to get them to take How Europe Only Developed Africa. I failed. Arif succeeded where I failed. He got them to publish Caribbean Times, to distribute Caribbean Times. It is true that his photograph used to be in all the issues of Caribbean Times, an indefatigable campaigner. personally visiting and identifying with the local issues in the communities of Manchester, Bradford, Bristol, Birmingham, and elsewhere. Caribbean Times became the voice of the struggles on such issues as SUS, sickle cell, New Cross massacre, the ESN, and the Granvik strikers, busing of pupils in London schools. At times, the newspaper was the only constant voice of our communities. We grown-ups have the habit of asking children, what would they like to be when they grow up? It is left to our imagination what answer Arif would give when asked such a question. What is more pertinent is that the seeds which were sown on the shores of Guyana, while its germination took place there, the germination of those seeds took place in England. And one of those seeds which he had was the support which his brother gave him, who met him at Victoria Station. Though with only a penny in his pocket, his ancestral and filial spiritual bonds were one of the seeds which saw him through. Life in London has never been a bed of roses. What it has done is to build up his resilience with the motto, don't get even, get on with it. The seeds sown these past decades have grown into a forest of which the society as a whole has been beneficiaries. I'm nearly finished. Arif had the confidence and capacity to develop links with the grassroots as well as with the great and the good, all without losing the common touch, without, as it is said in common parlance, selling out. That is an amazing accolade, despite the occasions when his contribution has been ignored by his peers. He has kept his integrity. It's important to recognize that England is a much better place today than what greeted us 6 decades ago. Although it may not appear so sometimes, many of the concessions we have won are constantly being trampled upon, reminding us that vigilance needs to be our watchword. My father always reminded us with a saying, dance a bottom, watch a top. His accomplishments could not have been achieved without the support of many along the way, which he will know better of. However, the constant in that support has been his family, both the immediate family and the extended. Pamela, his wife and partner of 60 years, after 3 months of courtship, truly a romantic story.
Hello.
Hello, okay, nearly there. Oh, can you hear me? One last line.
We can hear you.
Okay. Pamela, hold on. Pamela, his wife and partner of 60 years, after 3 months of courtship, is truly a romantic story of love at first sight. I would like to take this opportunity of expressing the appreciation of friends of the Huntley Archives for the support of Hansib over the years. This event today is long overdue in recognition of his contribution. Happy 50th birthday, Hansib. I thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much, Eric. Uncle Eric, that was fantastic. I'm just conscious that we're running out of time.
I made it.
You made it, thank you.
But you're telling a lot of secrets out of school. Only you and Jessica know some of those things.
That's what it's all about.
Just so that you're aware, I'm just going to ask, we've got Sarah Harvey wants to say something, and Brathwaite, I believe. I'm just going to go to Petamber Persaud first, if he's online, because I know Petamber's joining us from Guyana, which is just wonderful. Yeah. So Petamber, if you're there, just unmute yourself and join in, and just, if everybody could just be a little shorter so that we could just keep it going, because we've got quite a tight program, and we may end up finishing around 5 if we're not careful. So trying to do it shorter than that.
He's the reason for the staging. I tell you, we're the one to celebrate. He's the one that makes
Chandra, can you put yourself on mute, please? Chandra. Okay, hang on. I'm going to put Chandra on mute.
Yes.
Sorry about that. So
Okay.
I know it's Sunday. Chandra's got her her Sunday service going on there in the background.
Wow.
Petamber?
Yeah,
oh,
I'm here.
wonderful. Fantastic. Go ahead.
It's good seeing so many faces. Frank Beerball, you know what I mean? So many
Hi,
other people
Petamber,
here.
how are you?
We've got some cook up for you, Arif.
Oh, keep it. Just put it in the freezer.
Will do. In spite or despite of the pandemic, it has brought us all together. That's number one. And we should take this opportunity of the new normal to continue meeting in this way. Arif and the Hansib stable, congratulations. 50 years, a number of significant publications, which I use a lot as reference in my writing. A collection of books on cricket alone, you know, a vast collection of books on cricket, India and the Caribbean, Open Prison, you know, these are some of the books that are popping up to me right now. You must remember also Balgobin Saga. Thank you very much. Arif, you're laughing. You remember some of the humor inside here.
Can you see me? Petamber,
Yeah,
can you see me?
Yeah, I can see.
What shirt have I got on? You're telling me lies. Can you? You're actually seeing me, are you?
It's dark color. It's a dark color. I don't know what color it is.
It's a black shirt. Maybe wear a black shirt.
Yeah, you and David.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my wife is standing just behind me. Can you see Pamela?
Yeah. Hello. Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to see you, Petamber.
Yeah, what we remember about Arif is his humor. Despite what he's doing, business or pleasure, there's always this humor that Arif will share with us. And I'm happy to be among this distinguished group of writers and authors celebrating Hansib 50 years.
Thank you, Petamber.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure working with you, and I'm looking forward to continue working with you. This is from Guyana, although you know you've had some difficult times with your last book. Still looking forward for more. Congratulations.
Thank you, Petamber. Very kind.
Lovely. Thank you.
Regards to the family.
I just saw Kash. Kash, thank you very much, Kash.
I just thank you so much, Petamber. If I may, can I just bring in Anne? I think Anne was saying that she isn't able to stay long. So I just wanted to bring Anne in before she had to leave. So Anne?
Is that Anne back? Oh, hi, dear.
Hi, Juanita. Thanks very much. Arif is such a popular guy. You'll need to have a whole day one for Arif. But just two quick things. Firstly, in my small tribute, Alex Pascal earlier alluded to something that Arif contributed, which I think is one of his most important contributions, which is that he never participated in the ethnic divide in Guyana. He contributed to breaking down that ethnic divide. And I think that Arif has not had sufficient recognition for that. It's reflected both in his life and also in his publishing. And the other thing I want to ask Arif, can you say, you mentioned how many authors you had. Can you say how many titles Hansib has published and which are the 2 or 3 most successful ones?
Well, Rasta and Resistance was one of our top titles, which we did early on. India and the Caribbean are the same way. But our nation's books have sold thousands. When we do a book on one of the countries, we print in excess of 10,000 copies. And they've kept the company alive financially because we are able to publish books by lesser known authors and not have to sort of ask for as much money as they will cost. So when we do every one of the books that we've done, and my son Cash has listened to this conversation and he will agree with that, every book that we publish will cost us £6,000 to £7,000. We never take not even half of that amount from the authors when we go. And we continue to promote it as we go along. So the nation books, and I must thank all the prime ministers in the Caribbean, because we have done, I think, about 20-something nation books. Prime Minister of Antigua, Barbuda, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Jamaica, St. Lucia, and have to thank them because those books were able to fund the lesser known titles. And we have done in excess of 250 books. We've got about 100 and something authors. And we continue, and knowing me, I am so greedy that I'll probably live as long as my mother lived, who lived for 98. So you all will probably have to do something for me when I'm 100 years old. Hi, Juliet.
Those of us who are here would be happy to do that. Thank you, Arif.
But Anne, you're one of my, you're like my sister Anne, you know that.
Thank you, Arif.
Okay, baby, thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Anne. There was another name, sorry, Juliet, I'm guessing away, but it's just that I've got Sarah Harvey as well, and I know she's had her hand up for a long time. So, Sarah, if you're online and you can hear me, please unmute yourself and make your contribution.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate Arif on his 50 years.
That's our daughter.
Oh,
Sarah Harvey is our daughter.
Hi.
Her mother is behind me waving at her.
Oh, that's her.
Hi,
Lammy. Hello, Lammy. How are you?
Yeah, I just thought I'd come on and say I'm really proud of you. Well done.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Can you hear me, Daddy? Can you hear me?
I think he's overcome.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. I love you both, and I'll see you on Tuesday.
See you as well, Lammy.
Yeah.
Love you.
Love you too. Don't cry, you'll make me cry.
Oh. This is a happy occasion, but
Yeah.
I can understand why you feel like that. It's strange
Yeah,
time.
no, it's lovely to hear what everybody has to say about him. It's really, really lovely.
You really are proud of him, aren't
Thank you. Yeah. Thank everybody. So, yeah, it's really nice. Long overdue.
Yes, definitely. Lovely to see you. Thank you.
All right then. Bye.
Bye.
So the other person that I'd been meaning to draw in was Layla Ramdeen.
Yes.
Layla, are you? I saw you online, and I hope that you can unmute yourself. Layla, are you on board? No, I can't. I guess you're not picking up on that. Juliet, should we move to the next section? Just to say to everyone, please do carry on putting your tributes in the side chat. We're going to be saving all the conversation that's going on in there, and we'll send it to Arif when the whole event is over. So even if you can't share it audibly, it's going to be there in the chat section. So we're going to move on now, and we have the wonderful, the amazing Margaret Busby.
Wow.
Margaret, can you unmute yourself? Maybe we're not. Here we are, we've got Margaret. Wonderful.
Can you see me?
We can't see you at the moment. If everybody else, please switch on to mute while Margaret's talking. Thank you.
Well, what can I say? It's just amazing that you're still going strong, Arif. I've been with you all the way. I bought this book you published, I've probably still got it. It's probably worth a lot of money now. Back in 1973, I think, the Indian who's who, if you like. In fact, you said that your archives are in the LMA and in the Black Cultural Archives. They're also in my house. I've got copies of all newspapers, Root magazine, and all the things that I've seen you publish along the way. You ventured into publishing. No, it's not. There's the New Beacon books in 1966, or I started Alison Busby in 1967, or Hogan Literature in 1969. And it's not easy to start. It's not easy to keep going. It's even more difficult to become the largest Black publishing company in Europe, which Hansib has done. And for you to still be going and still be looking ahead to what you're going to do next, it's really amazing. And it's not up to me to be proud of you, but I am proud of you because I know how hard it's been, and I know that you deserve every accolade going, and all the good wishes you're getting today, you deserve every day. So thank you, Arif.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret, for all the things you've done. Mm-hmm.
Arif, are you still there? I think, Arif, are you still there?
Can you hear me?
I think Arif's probably overcome now.
I think he is, to be honest. Yeah. There's even more to make him overcome coming up.
I tell you what, I was going to ask Arif a question, but I won't at this stage. I think what we'll do while we're waiting for Arif to come back online is I'm going to share you a pre-recorded piece by Rudolph Walker CBE. He needs no introduction. And he is going to be, he's reading from a book called Short and Sweet by, is it? Robert Fernandes, that's right. Wow. So let me just share the screen and we'll go straight to that.
And if everyone keeps their mic muted whilst he's reading, you'll hear it much better.
Thank you, Juliet. Here we go.
Hi, Rudy.
From Short and Sweet.
Ooh.
Collection of
Need the mic up?
Fables by Robert K. Fernandes. Osric was quite pleased.
No.
Over the next
No, I'm not hearing it.
He had written 5 short stories. But the most difficult
We're not hearing that at all.
You're not hearing it?
Are you on mute or anything?
Is everybody not hearing it, or is it just a different? Because it was the same sound as yesterday, and we're totally all the way up.
Baroness
Juliet?
Amos.
It might be because some audio. Sorry, some of the participants need to go on to mute, just so we don't get any background sound.
Fables by Robert K. Fernandes. Osric was quite pleased with himself, as over the next 4 months, he had written 5 short stories.
Yeah, I know, yeah. He's got a whole
Not yet. All right.
Hi.
I don't know.
Petamber, you hearing it?
I'm not hearing anything.
You're not? Okay. What we'll do is we'll put all of these onto YouTube, if it's okay with the contributors, and then you can all hear it a bit later. However, I do believe that Rudolph may be actually online. Let me just, sorry, I'm just going to stop sharing this.
Oh, there he is, yes.
Yes, you're online.
We couldn't hear it. Sorry, Rudolph.
Well, I don't know, gremlins in the works. I'm so sorry about that. But, you know, all I want to do is to endorse the fantastic accolades that Irish so richly deserve. Our relationship go way back in the 70s. We shared a lot of wonderful moments together, either be cricket or traveling to the West Indies supporting BWIA. Yes, and I spend many, many hours in that little office.
What about my beating your tennis, Rudy?
Yes,
Tell them how I beat your tennis.
I allowed you to beat me because you were such a powerful guy. And if I had beaten you, what would have appeared in the papers would not have been complimentary. So I think the best thing to do is, but no, it was
You remember, Rudy, you remember the match we started in Barbados and finished it in Trinidad?
That's right. Yes, I do. But no, Arif, you've supported me. Someone 3 weeks ago sent me an article or campaign that we run in the 70s, promoting or trying to get young Black writers. You do remember that? And
yes,
it was just fantastic. But all along the line, I really have to compliment you because the sterling work that you have done over the years, support me to support young actors that were coming through. My blessings go with you now and always.
Thank you, Rudy. Very kind. Regards with family.
Will do, will do.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. I think probably next, what shall I ask you? I think, Arif, may I just ask you, before we move on quickly to Zita Holbourne, I just had one question. I wanted to know, what publication are you most proud of?
I would imagine, to a great extent, Rasta and Resistance, because you see, before we published Rasta and Resistance, which Horace Campbell did for us, the Rastafarian movement was ignored all over the world. And they were badly treated. Rastafarians were taken up by governments in the Caribbean. They had their hair cut off. A whole lot of things were happening. And because I was traveling in the Caribbean, I was given an opportunity to meet with them. So when Horace brought Rasta and Resistance to us, it was a great pride to publish it. And since we published it, the Rastafarian movement have gained credibility and respect because it gave people an opportunity to read what it is all about. It's hundreds of good points in that organization. And today it is still there and still sells. It's still one of our top sellers up to this day. They have other books. India in the Caribbean was another book. These are early books, which David Dabydeen and Clem Seecharan, these people were involved in. Again, that gives to the Indian community in the Caribbean, the majority in Guyana, the partly 50% in Trinidad and Tobago, the few people in the Eastern Caribbean, in Jamaica, the 2%, give identity to those people. And up to this day, the books are being used. In fact, it has been used by the University of West Indies for studies. So those titles, there are many others, of course. You know, we've done some good books, and it isn't Hansib. You must remember, if the authors that we've got, the 100+ authors, the people like this one you have on the screen, Petamber Persaud, people like Clem, Horace Campbell, and all these, if these people weren't there, who had their ideas, exactly, and who had put their words, the only thing they didn't have is a vehicle to publicize it. And Hansib, I would say, and you must remember, let me say this, Hansib is not Arif Ali. Hansib is a team of people who are like-minded to Arif Ali and who we at Hansib gave them the opportunity. In other words, we built the platform, but there weren't enough space on that platform for many people who were like-minded to mine. They just jump on that and stay there, and all we had to do was put bars around the stage to keep them there because they're such good people. And some of them has been there, Dabydeen, you know, and Petamber, Horace Campbell, you know, there, and Zita, who is going to be speaking to me in a little while, and, you know, really and truly, people like Pascal and Alexander, and, you know, when Juanita and Rod, the work they do, I'm distressed because I don't have, these days, a weekly newspaper to sort of recognize the work that so many of our people have done and are doing. And that is one of the regrets I have when I came out of what you call weekly publishing. But we're gradually trying to put it in books. And fortunately, I've got a son. I don't know if you all know his name, but his name is Arif Ali, who is like-minded to his father. And he now runs Hansib. And I'm so pleased. There's nothing that please a parent more, and I do talk too much, I'm sorry, than when their children, or in this case, my son, who continues the work that you have started.
Wonderful.
And my wife is here, and she's telling me I've said enough.
I was actually going to say, when are you going to mention Pam? Because, you know, she's always supported you at a lot of the events. And I noticed she hasn't got a seat next to you. She has to keep standing up behind you.
Yeah, but that, I thought to keep her, you know. Well, this is my number one. There's no question about that.
Good.
It's always been there. No questions. You know, I mean, it's like someone who said to you, you got to jump. They say, how high? That is Pamela. She's been, you know. Besides that, she loves me a lot.
Oh, well, I have to say that we extend our congratulations to Pam, and our gratitude to Pam as well for keeping Hansib and you on track. Because there's all
don't forget the Ali children.
And the children.
But you have Kash and Kameen and Sarah, Zahid, Sharif. You have Ella, and if I go to the 200 grandchildren I have, well, then we forget that one.
I was going to say, and the grandchildren, but yeah, we haven't got time for that. But
no, thank you very much.
But if I can now bring in Zita Holbourne, that would be fantastic. Zita, if you're online, please unmute. Thank you.
Greetings, everybody.
Hello, Zita.
How are you, Arif? It's wonderful to be here. And wonderful to be sharing this experience with you. I first met you in the 1980s at the Caribbean Times on Fonthill Road. I still remember the first words. I know I've told you this, that you said to me, and I was sitting at a desk at one of the reporters, because at the time I was dating one of your reporters, and had come to meet him, and you looked at me and said, "Who are you? Hello, who are you?" And then I told you who I was and whose partner I was, and you said, "What's an ugly bastard like that doing with somebody as good looking as you?" Those were your first words that you spoke to me. But I remember being completely in awe. I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is Arif Ali. He's spoken to me. I've met him." And I was at art school, and my final project at art school was on the Caribbean Times and the work of the Caribbean Times. And I got to travel around and find out a bit more about the work of journalism, and did some photography for the paper and did some rewrites. And I have those copies of the ones that I contributed to. This is my first entry into journalism all those years ago when I was 19. But what I want to do now is to share a couple of poems with you. And one is from the book you published, Striving for Equality, Freedom and Justice. And it's the very first poem in the book, but I think actually it's as much your story, it encapsulates your story. And then I've also penned a special poem just for you. And they're very short, just to let you know, so I won't take up too much time. So the first one is the one in the book, Redefining History. We, our parents, our grandparents, came to this country and in half a century redefined Britain's history. Arriving by ship enthusiastically, we were greeted by the mist and the grey of the sea. The bitter cold of the winter season was nothing compared to the ice-cold freezing attitude of those in this country, full of hatred and hostility. Greeted by signs of keep Britain white, we'd come unprepared for a fight. No dogs, no Irish, no blacks. We had to always watch our backs. We were told this was the mother country. What mother uses terms that are derogatory? What kind of mother rejects and sets out to inject a sense of worthlessness within the child she should caress? For 50 years, we've struggled and fought, sometimes defiant, sometimes distraught, to make a place and be accepted as young or old and black and gifted. And look what we've achieved despite having to live aggrieved. We've excelled within this land that refused a helping hand, in spreading the word of the Holy Scriptures, in trade unions and in literature, in sports and politics, in broadcasting and music, in entertainment and education. We helped empower this nation. Despite the fact we were deceived, we came and we achieved. We, our parents, our grandparents came to this country and in half a century redefined Britain's history, redefined Britain's history. So that's the first one that's in the book. And this is the one that I've written as a tribute to you.
Well said, Zita. Well said.
That
I
was
remember
so
that.
powerful. Beautiful.
Thank you. So this one that I've written is called Arif Ali, Hansib, A Living Legacy. From 1970 to 2020, 50 years of publishing aplenty. From Guyana to London, Arif Ali set up a publishing house for you and me to document our struggles and our stories, represent the views of our communities, embrace our cultures and quest for equality, record our achievements and our history. Establishing the West Indian Digest, this was just the beginning, then came the rest. At Fonthill Road in London's Finsbury Park, the Caribbean Times paper made its mark. Followed by Asian and African Times too, oldest UK black paper readership grew. It encompassed our multicultural society, our struggles connected, it made us family, documenting all our trials and our tribulations of battling prejudice and discriminations, but also connected us with stories from back home, so we felt less isolated and alone. The legacies of colonialism united us here, now facing racism. We needed our lived experiences heard. Hansib helped us to do this through the written word. From journalism, then to activism, black sections, achievements and heroism, from newspapers of our times in the 80s to publishing our books in the 90s. We told our stories, histories, her stories, poured into the pages our pain and glories. Hansib Publications provides a platform for poems, memoirs, fiction, and to inform. Publishing books now for over 20 years, 50 years of passion, love, blood, sweat, and tears. Arif Ali, we salute and celebrate you. We thank you for all you did and that you still do. Thank you for this blessing you passed on to us all, helping writers amongst us to realize our call. Half a century of documenting us, always humble and without fanfare or fuss. Hansib Publications is part of history, and you, Arif, are a living legacy.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Wow.
Thank you
Wow,
so much,
Zita.
Arif. And I'll do
bring
a
tears.
recording to send to you.
Darling, you bring tears to my eyes. I'm so loved. Thank you. Thank you very
It'll
much.
have to go in the next book.
Thank you, Zita. Thank you very much. Very
That
good.
was amazing. That was really lovely. Thank you very much. Oh, I hope you're enjoying this, you know, Arif.
All choked up, but enjoying it. Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I've actually just heard that we've got Mike Massive online. So it doesn't really matter that the recording wasn't loud enough, because perhaps Mike can join in and unmute and say his words directly to you. Mike,
what's up, Chief?
Ooh.
Oh,
Michael, okay, Michael, how are you?
yeah, great to see you, man.
Can we
How's
see
family?
you?
Okay.
I'm not
Mike.
sure. Where's my video? You need to see me.
Yeah. Cool. Oh,
I can see you now. I can see you now.
Hey, I'm in my garden.
You go in your garden. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lovely. I see.
Yeah.
I see your beard
Thank
gets
you
got
so
a bit
much, Harry.
like my beard now, grey. Serves you right.
You see, Arif, you see, I am Arif, you are like Spartacus. I'm Arif Ali.
Okay.
All
Thank
of
you.
us.
Thank you.
All
Thank
of
you.
us. All of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you, Michael. Love
It's
you.
wonderful
Love you.
seeing you again. But
Yes, same
obviously,
here.
our work together has not concluded, because
No.
the principles that you taught me, I'm taking through my life. And
Thank
as a
you.
grandfather, I'm following your example. and I'm making sure that I can play my part towards making this a place that we can live in that has justice, as you have taught me.
Never forget you were one of Hansib's, Michael, you never forget that you were one of Hansib's top editors. Don't you ever forget that, eh?
I'm your shining star. I'm your greatest star. What do you mean?
And modest as well, yes.
If you're Berry Gordy, I'm your Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
You know I'm the number one.
Well,
you are number one.
What a wonderful, you, Michael, what a wonderful young man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Look forward to another 50 years.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Bless.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. One of the things we haven't mentioned, Arif, which I think is important to mention, you were involved in a lot of political groups, but one of the pioneering things, as well as bringing on journalists, you also agitated to make sure that the local authorities advertise in your newspapers. So that meant that Black people who read your newspapers actually saw the vacancies that were advertised. That was a huge difference.
Well, Juliet, you remember this because I've discussed it with you. The campaign was, if you don't advertise for a job as a sort of, instead of a porter or a cook in our publications, but that is what I've told the local authorities, if you only advertise for porters and cook, our people will never apply for the architect or the accountant job. So I insist on them. I said, don't give me only the jobs that are menial. I want to have the job as chief executive. And eventually, as you know, we won that battle.
Yes.
Mind you, I threatened them to say that I'll put a demonstration outside of their office as well. So it wasn't all so nice.
I can imagine. We've talked about the newspapers, we've talked about the publications, but I also want to talk about some of the legacy that you, Arif Ali, and you, Hansib, have left. You haven't finished yet, obviously. You're still doing it. Yeah.
Listen, I want to tell you two young ladies something. You all are embarrassing me, okay? Both of you know me very well, and I don't like this sort of thing. Both of you know me well enough.
I want to embarrass you a little bit more before Juliet moves on to the legacy, because there's Frank Bilbar Singh is apparently on this call from Toronto in Canada. So,
oh yes, Frank is one of Hansib's top authors.
Yeah, so if Frank...
Give him his full title. He's Professor Doctor.
Professor, absolutely. Professor Bilbar Singh, if you're online, and could you please just unmute and offer a tribute?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, Frank, how are you?
Good.
I can see you.
Nice to see you again.
Yes. And there's Pam in the background here. Pamela is here as well. You remember we went to his home in Toronto. Yeah. How are you?
Well, good. No, I'm glad people have got together to be able to thank you for what you've done. Growing up in Guyana, I always thought of London as a place where books came from. But in those days, in the 1940s, there were no books in Guyana. Guyana did not make books. So everything came from London. And so it was nice that, printing, that you got into printing and you became a book producer. I think it was a great achievement to express West Indian feelings and attitudes in print. It's the reverse of history, because history flowed from England towards us. The other way around. From our history was presented to England, but now you made the history was created in England to recognize our history.
Thank you, Frank.
I think that's a lasting achievement. That's all I want to say. Yeah.
And regards to you and the family.
Thanks.
Thank you for your lovely comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll give you a call.
Professor.
Thank you, Professor. And also, there's just so that you're aware, Arif, Catherine has also left a lovely tribute in the chat section, so you'll be able to read that later.
You mean Catherine Birbal Singh?
Correct. Correct.
It's Frank's daughter.
Yeah, she said that you've always been a huge inspiration to the younger generation. But she mentioned
Frank. Marita, Frank and his family are more like, and his family are more like family to me. Frank is very close to me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well,
yes.
I won't keep interrupting you now, Juliet. Sorry, over to
you.
No,
it's all right. It's worth interrupting for Frank. I mean, that's what this is all about. That people, if they can get on and speak directly to Arif and to the rest of us, I think that's a lovely thing. That's a lovely thing. We have got some tributes, some more tributes, I should say, Arif, and this is looking towards the legacy, if you like, and towards the just the amazing contribution that you've made both here in the UK and internationally. And one of the people coming up, I'll tell you something very interesting about this person. Well, let me just give you the background to her. It's the lovely Baroness Amos, Valerie Amos. And as many of you will know, she was the Under Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs at the UN. She was the British High Commissioner for Australia, where she did amazing work. She was the director.
She's somebody we're very proud of her achievement.
Absolutely. Director at SOAS, and of course now is the first black head of a master of a college at Oxford, and she's down there. She was absolutely made up when I asked her to do this. She said, oh, you're going to revel in it. She said, Arif is going to love this. But you know what I found out that I didn't know before? Arif, you and she are twins. You're born on the same day. You're born on the 13th. No, I only found this out. You're born on March the 13th, yes?
Something else I have to honor her with,
There you go. And just because the journalist in me couldn't ignore it, I looked up what a Piscean born on that day does. And apparently, both of you bring great passion to your life and are willing to devote time and energy to anything you feel is worthwhile. So there you go. That's you, and that's Valerie. Isn't that amazing? Twins separated at birth. But Valerie was very happy to pay tribute to you for your amazing years in publishing and newspapers. And I think it's coming up now. We're going to play into it right now.
But Juliet, she hasn't done so badly herself, has she?
Not at all. In fact, once this corona thingy is over, we're all going to go down to Oxford and have a party.
Yeah, we are very proud of her. She's done very well.
She has, absolutely amazingly. But let's see if we can play that tribute now.
Well, I'm going to try and play it. I don't know if there'll be problems with the sound. I've been given some advice by one of the participants. I think it's Kwaku who's saying that I need to put my computer sound on or something. So I'm share computer sound. Here we go. So maybe that's why it wasn't working earlier. Oh, I need a password. Hold on a second.
If we take our we mute our mics, that might help as well.
Okay. It says my microphone and speaker are not working properly. Are you hearing me? No.
I can hear you, but I don't know if the others are.
Okay, so let me just see if I can get this going and maybe ignore the thing on the screen at the minute. I don't know if you can see.
Arif, congratulations to you
now,
and Hansib for an extraordinary 50 years. You're an innovator, a pioneer. You created a platform and gave us the space to tell our own stories, to look at our own histories. You did that for people from the Caribbean, from Africa, and Asia. You gave us the opportunity to explore the connectivities between us, the connectivity between North and South, the connectivity that we feel as people who have been exploited and discriminated against. And you've also been an activist voice, speaking out strongly against injustice and inequality. Hansib and you have been an important part of our community. We value you, we salute you, and we celebrate you.
Yes. Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you
that
very
was from
much.
Valerie, and she really wanted to say,
Very kind words.
Okay. Well, we're fortunate. I mean, times have changed in 50 years. We now have a representation, or we have people of color in the House. We have people of color as MPs, and another person who wanted to pay tribute to you. Again, she is a first in many fields. She was the Commonwealth Secretary General, Patricia, Baroness Scotland. She very much wanted to say something. She particularly remembered the time that you spent together working at the Caribbean Advisory Committee, which she was chair of. Yes?
Yes.
So let me tell you something. She is abroad at the moment. When she tried to send it from this particular recording from the Gambia, and it couldn't happen. She sent it about 3 hours ago from Ghana. She's all over the place, and she's tried to send this about 3 times. So fingers crossed that this one works.
Okay, here we go. If you can't hear it, do just shout and let me know, but fingers crossed.
For many, the image of a passenger liner cruising into an English port, its bow branded with the Empire Windrush signature, its edges lined with eager West Indians straining for their first peek of the promised land, is nothing more than a picture in a book. And the Windrush story is just an article in a newspaper that they will read and then discard. But for us, that story represents defining moments, heart-wrenching experiences, and the everyday, every hour, every second fight for equal access to education, healthcare, opportunities, and prosperity. It is our story, our pain, our hurdle, our resilience, and our triumph. Therefore, it's important to us that this story is told in a way that is sensitive, inspiring, that catalyzes real change and progress, and that accurately captures our experience. This, I believe, was the main motivation between and behind Arif Ali's decision to sell his greengrocers in 1970 and make the bold move into publishing. He knew about the journey from Danielstown in Guyana to the Canary Island, to Spain, to Italy, to France, and finally to North London in England. He knew about having to take the bumpy, hard, scenic route. He looked out and sensed the vacuous, dense silence where our voice, our vision, and our story should have been. He decided to do something about it. I imagine that back then there were scoffers and doubters. However, 50 years on, we are here to celebrate the anniversary and the success of his venture. While working as Parliamentary Under Secretary of State at the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, I saw Arif's selfless devotion to his community in his pro bono activities and his contribution to the Caribbean Advisory Group. I saw how he collaborated with others who shared his passion and determination, such as our dear Patsy Robertson, who earned her wings in August of this year. Indeed, he was part of a powerful coalition that was intent on breaking down barriers for the Caribbean community. There is no doubt that in the course of this event, you will chart the rise and rise of his pioneering Hansib publications, from the West Indian World to the Asian Times, the Caribbean Times, the African Times, and Root magazine. Then to carving out a niche in the book publishing industry, which at the time was reluctant to make space for diversity. Through Arif's efforts, the world was able to gain insight into the harrowing experiences of the minority communities in Britain and better appreciate the power of the human spirit. that drove us through adversity after adversity and continues to demand equality and justice. Certainly, there is much to celebrate. However, this is also an opportunity for us to recognize the challenge ahead. In the wake of the George Floyd incident, which sparked a global conversation that really put a spotlight on the persisting inequalities that affect virtually every aspect of our society, Black-owned bookshops made a call for more diversity in UK publishing. Last year, The Guardian reported that a major survey described by the Publishers Association as the most comprehensive ever conducted of the UK's publishing workforce identified the need for significant progress in improving diversity in the industry. Why should we care about this? Because it is important for all parts of the publishing industry, from historical non-fiction to futuristic fantasies, to include us as writers, as heroes, and as readers. Our talented authors need to be able to step onto a level playing field instead of, as it currently stands, entering the market with already difficult odds stacked even higher against them. They must be given the opportunity to offer audiences the level of authenticity that can only come from lives lived experience. Furthermore, our children and young people should see role models and heroes that look like them in the stories they read. So it's not just about a lack of BME characters, but also about how they are cast and whether they fall into a trend of dangerous stereotyping. Finally, from my viewpoint as Commonwealth Secretary General, ensuring that the messages in our publications promote respect and understanding of each other's experience, perspectives, and culture is critical to our pursuit of true democracy, peace, and social cohesion. So today, I join so many others to applaud and celebrate the contribution and achievements of our Caribbean pioneer, Arif Ali, who has rightly gained his position on our pedestal of admiration and respect. And it is my hope that the legacy of the Hansib Publications empire he has created will continue to pave the way for a publishing community that is defined by diversity and equality.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you very much.
That was amazing. My goodness.
Thank you. That was lovely.
That was absolutely lovely. She's just texted me also to say she's just come out early from her meeting, and if it's at all possible, she might jump on live.
Oh, golly, thank you very much.
So we'll see. If you see her name come up, anyone, just...
She was our chairman with the Caribbean Advisory Group, and a very good chairman she was. Yeah.
Yes. She mentioned that it was sad that Patsy is not here to share this.
Sad, very sad. Patsy, one of the pioneers of many areas within our communities.
Yes.
Sadly.
Yeah. Anyway.
And they were very good friends. Patsy and Patricia, very good friends. Yeah.
Very, extremely good. Well, I think we've got some presentations and we've got some celebrations coming up. Do I see Richard in the background?
Yes, Richard is here. Yes, you remember Richard.
Hello, Richard. You know what?
Yeah, Richard has organized it all here for me.
Excellent, excellent.
It's his
now,
work.
I know you've got something special there, Richard. Would you like to tell Arif? He doesn't know.
You're joking. I'll tell you something. You people out there, you all have really done me proud. I mean, I'm embarrassed. I really am. But it's so kind, so very kind. The entire family and myself, we really appreciate it. Very much so.
So, what do you want to do first? The
Well, we wanted to give you something on behalf of what we are calling the visible minority, or your friends, your family of friends, which is what we are. Yes.
Not the edible, not the edible one. The other one, Rich.
The other one. Have you all tried
my lot knows about this, and nobody ever. I mean, they normally leak it to me, but this is really a surprise. Juliet.
Yes.
There you are.
Oh golly.
Oh, come on out and read it.
Oh, these look. Oh golly. Well,
can you see it?
I can see it. I will need my glasses.
I can.
Darling, can you please pass me my glasses? Thank you, darling. Thank you. Okay. It says here, leg one to London. Oh my, leg one to. Oh, I can't read it. I'm choked up on that one. Sorry.
Oh, Richard, you read it.
London to London, Arif Ali, pioneer and publisher. And this one says, Arif Ali, Hansib Publications, Golden Jubilee, 1970 to 2020.
You all have gone over the top, really and truly, you know. I mean,
let's hear it. Come on.
Thank you all, everyone listening here today. Thank you, and to Arthur Torrington and his group of people last Sunday. You know, all the work that people have done, and many of you there have contributed to it. Always remember, if we did not have the support, one of my family, Pamela, our children, Richard, my son-in-law, and other son-in-law and daughter-in-laws, and the community, it could have never been achieved. Juliet, you, for example, I would pick up the phone and say, Juliet, I want so-and-so, and you will say when. The same thing with Rod and Juanita these days, but in the old days, people were so anxious to help. And, you know, you didn't have to ask twice. No. Even those people who were helping us with finances, you only had to ask once. In fact, Joe Witter, one day I went to him and I wanted some help. And as soon as I hit his office, he said, how much this time, Banners? That's brother. How much this time? So really and truly, the community physically backed Hansib. So I'm grateful for all the accolades and the thank you. But if we did not have a genuinely, and I must say this, West Indian community, it's the West Indian who pushed. And the fortunate thing is that the Asians and the Africans were there to help. We only had to ask. You wanted?
Yes, hang on.
Oh,
sorry.
There's more to come.
Here you are.
Oh, God.
Happy 50th anniversary to you and to Hansib.
I don't know if we can see that.
Juliet, can you see this?
No, we can't see it.
Oh, golly. It's a cake.
Come back a bit.
I just want to make sure everyone can see it.
Right,
as long as it doesn't slide off.
Okay, can you see it now?
Oh, yes, that's it.
I hope we can eat it because it looks too good to eat.
It's a beautiful cake made by a lovely lady that some of you will know, Beverly.
But how come this got here without my knowing how it is?
Look what's on it. Look, some picture covers, some
anti-narrate
as well.
Over the top. They
yes.
said OTT, Juliet. This is OTT. Juanita, OTT, definitely.
Yeah, don't you dare shed tears.
And where is Rod and Ansel? I know all of you there sneaking about somewhere or the other.
You know,
and I hear Mia is also involved in this. I get some of the information, but listen, you people, I can't say, I don't have the words, and I'm very talkative to say how grateful my family and I are for this. You have uplifted the last months of isolation. I have not been out of this house for months, and you have uplifted that. Fortunately, I have a very good wife and children, so they take care of me very well, and I'm grateful to them as well. But I'm out of words on this. Thank you, Juanita. Thank you, Juliet. Thank you, Ansel. Thank you, Rod. Thank you, all of you people who are listening to this. And thank you all for the comments and the beautiful comments. And you've really surprised me today with some of the people who you got on there because they're so busy and they've made time to say something. And that is so wonderful. So wonderful.
Because we think it's special.
There's something I think you asked Rod for a while back. So, Rod, how many did you deliver?
4.
So you got, apparently you've got 40 dal puri now in your freezer.
You're joking.
Yes.
And do you know, only a couple of days ago, I'm telling one of my children here that I have to wait until Guyana Speaks comes up again before I order some more roti.
Well,
listen, you all are now talking. And listen, I want the two of you to feel very jealous because you see this glass. What Pamela has given me here is water coconut. I'm drinking coconut water as I talk to you.
Coconut water.
Can't do better than that. Be jealous, both of you.
We are.
Just while I've got everyone
you,
still online, I just wanted to remind everyone, normally at this time of year, Guyana Speaks would be doing Border Bazaar. And because we couldn't, I mean, we would have done this anyway, but one of the things is that Hansib always support us when we do Border Bazaar, and they always come to our events and sell their books there. So that's partly the reason why we wanted to be able to offer everyone the 25% discount. So don't forget, you just need to email cash@hansibpublications.com and use the reference. It's in the chat, but it's also 25 Han 50. That's all you need to quote to get the discount, and it'll be running between the 13th and the 20th of December. And Cash has said to us that he can process your payment either by card or well, you can phone him or email him, whichever way. And
we'll
what
get it
else?
In,
Yeah, I think Juliet, am I handing back to you? You were going to.
Oh yes. I was just going to basically say, on a sad note, because it has been an unusual year, unfortunately, we've also lost a number of the people who were pioneers and trailblazers. So I know that Guyana Speaks is planning to do something next year,
yes.
which we will properly mention and celebrate the lives of so many people who've sadly passed this year.
Well done, yes, well done.
And we're grateful for you for doing that. And just keep an eye out for that, yes? But
yes,
we want to end basically by saying, you know what? I'm so pleased that we're all here, that we all made it through this awful year, this very strange year. We're all here together. We're celebrating family and love. And you know what? Nothing will hold us down. We will keep going and just have a blessed time with your loved ones this festive
lovely spirit, lovely Juliet, lovely Juanita, Rod. Look, I mean, I thank you all very much. You can't imagine how proud I feel to know that one, you all have done this, but that it's you people, all of you who are there, you yourselves have done so much for our community, and that must be recognized by whoever is listening to this as well. Wonderful people, lovely friends.
Honestly,
you know, I've always said that West Indians, we are the best people in the whole world. I've always told them that. So now we're proving it, okay?
Exactly. I just have to acknowledge, Arif, as well, that there is no way Guyana Speaks could have pulled this off on its own. We're really, Rod and I are so grateful to Juliet, to Ansel, to Mia Morris, you know, for helping us get everybody together to do this. But also, of course, to Richard and Ella, you know, for helping us squirrel things in the background. And an immense thanks as well to Cash. So, yeah, and just to everybody, I mean,
tell Mia for me that she's a bit of a sneak, because normally she tells me things, and on this occasion she didn't tell me anything.
Mia's been amazing, and I just really wanted to extend, you know, our warmest wishes to everybody, and I hope that you all have a really wonderful festive season, even though we're going through this really difficult period. And just to remind everyone, Guyana Speaks is run on the last Sunday of every month. So if you enjoy getting together with everyone, then please do join us again. I think the next one will be 30th, 31st of January, something like that. But we've got a really exciting event that's going to include a section about pottery and Amerindian culture. And we don't hear enough about that. So I really hope you'll all be able to join us for that. Rod, please come and show your face because no one ever sees. Rod's been squirreling away in the background. So I'm gonna get him to come and join us. There he is. We're both very colourful today in our celebratory colours.
Yes, he's in the background.
But slightly clashing together.
No, that is Juliet. I'm saying Juliet. Hello, Rod. Thank you. Rod, thank you very much. Thank you, Juanita, Juliet, and everybody concerned on this thing there. You know, it's, I'm very proud. And you sort of made my day. You made my month. You made my year. I thank you very much. All of you deserve it.
And,
all of the good wishes.
If I can say a huge thank, particularly to the people who wrote special tributes for you. So Alexander the Great, we really appreciated that. Zita, thank you so much for the poem. Everybody, if I've forgotten anyone, I apologize, but thank you so much. Keith Waite, of course, is waiting to sing us out. Sing or play us out, one way or the other. And then after Keith, that'll be pretty much it. You can all put yourselves off mute if you want to just chat afterwards. But yeah, Keith, go for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Juliet, Juanita, and all of you there, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Ah. It's still breaking up, you know, Keith.
Yes, he's breaking up.
Oh, Keith, you're breaking up, you know.
It's because the flute is too loud for the microphone and it just cuts out. It's a condenser mic.
Oh,
I see.
Mr. Musician, you would know this, you see. Oh,
Sister
hi, Sarah.
Now, who is that young lady I just saw? I recognize that face.
Sarah.
Betty Lowe.
Also like me to unmute. Sorry.
Hello, Keith.
And Alex's sister, Alexander the Great's sister. And my sister Betty covered the Queen's Caribbean tour for you in the 80s. So I remember it very well. And I love your cricket books as well.
Could we just explain to Keith that, Keith, unfortunately we lost you. Yeah, so sorry, but the sound wasn't working, Keith. And that's such a shame.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
I can hear it now, but apparently the condenser or whatever it was Alexander the Great said.
Keith, the problem is when you play too loud, the condenser mic cuts in and cuts it out. Play more gently or further away, and it won't happen.
Oh. Hello, Waveney. Hello, Waveney.
Hi, Juliet.
Hi, Waveney. How are you?
Yeah, you're doing well. You're doing well. You're holding up. You're holding on here.
Extend my regards to the family, Waveney.